Dr. Wendy from the Real Housewives of Potomac has been arrested, and I'm shook by this. And listen, I spend the first 30 minutes or so, I think more, talking about the Real Housewives of Potomac and this arrest. And I got to say, even if you don't watch Real Housewives of Potomac, you should listen. Okay, because Dr. Wendy came onto the show, just to give you a little context for those of you who don't watch the show. She came onto the show as like a professor, 4 degrees, a doctorate, beautiful children, loving husband, like the picture perfect life. And, nothing like, incendiary or salacious has come out about her. And like, it is just the last couple that you would expect to be arrested for insurance fraud and 16 charges and 7 are felonies. And it is just insane. So, oh my God. So let's get into it and enjoy today's episode. Welcome to the Bravo Papers, a safe space for all us Bravo fans who love to analyze, deconstruct, and talk about our favorite Bravo shows ad nauseum. So join me, Bravo and Botox, and we'll catch up on all the Bravo news and read way too much into our favorite shows and Bravo celebrities. Dr. Wendy Osefo and her husband, Eddie, have been arrested. I'm speechless. I am without speech, which is bad because this is a podcast, but I need to wrap my head around this. This is the last thing that I was expecting to hear on this Friday before a long weekend for us Canadians. Happy Canadian Thanksgiving for my Canadian listeners. But I was like settling in to record a regular news episode, catch up on my Twitter roundups. My daughter wasn't feeling well this week. I'm behind on literally everything because of it. And then this gets dropped. I'm shooketh, as who said that? Stassi, was it back on VPR? Like, it is just, these are the last 2 people who I would have thought would be arrested in the Bravo verse. Well, maybe not the complete last. No, they are. They really are. They just like them. They're definitely the last ones on Potomac I would have expected. And they're certainly the last ones, like, in terms of like a married couple. I'm really like taken aback by this. Like, I'm going to tell you that when I saw this on my feed and I just happened to refresh the second it was posted, like the TMZ post was like, you know how on Instagram it'll say the how long it was posted. It was like literally like 1 minute ago. So I was like there. Like, see how I bigged this up, guys. I was there. I was basically at the jail. No, but like I refreshed it, and because it was so fresh and new, and I was looking at like a reposted, sorry, TMZ. So I didn't even believe it. Like, I saw, because if you look at these mugshots, okay, if you have not seen these mugshots, I want you to pause this podcast right now, get your ass on Google, and you need to see the mugshots because I'm going to talk about the mugshots. They almost look AI. Like, they're not. But I have to be honest, at first glance, I thought, I was like, holy shit. And then I was like, no, that can't be real, because there's no way that Dr. Wendy and Eddie would be arrested for all these charges and fraud and whatever. So I didn't even believe it. And then I thought, okay, well, it's got to be AI. And I went to the comments, and a lot of the comment, and because now that's been happening, right? Like, that's been happening a lot on Facebook, especially. I wasn't on Facebook, but it has been happening on there a lot, like people making up AI Bravo stories. So that is honestly, I truly and honestly, like, I'm not just saying that, believe that that's what it was for a good, like, I don't know, 3 minutes. Okay. Until I did a Google search, TMZ, whatever, to see if it was actually on the TMZ website. And then I was like, what the fuck? Okay, sorry, I have to swear today. This is just too crazy. And then so I went to the comments. People were saying that. I looked at, I'm like, this is true. So then I took, because I didn't want to share it to my story till I knew that it was real. Because I was like, people could just be making stuff up. They can make AI images. And back to the mugshots, they are so absurd, these mugshots, because Eddie looks like he's high, as many, I've seen thousands of comments. I think they were probably arrested like late at night, or I don't know, because they both look like tired. But Eddie looks high. He's kind of like smiling, I guess, and Wendy's like full smile. I mean, Eddie's is kind of like, he looks like half asleep or high, and he kind of has like a half smile. Wendy is like full. I'm going to tell you guys the truth. I think Wendy was trying to look good. I really do. I think because a lot of people are like, why is she smiling like that? Like, why would you be smiling when you've been arrested? I think the reason that she's smiling, even though she's been arrested, is because she knows this mugshot is going to be everywhere. She knows it's going to be on the Bravo website and TMZ and all over the internet and at the reunion. And she's going to have to look at it a gajillion times for the rest of her life. So she was trying to look okay. She didn't want to look like like an angry, person or a sad criminal or something like that. She didn't want the cliche, what's it called? Expression that criminals always have. So she did the smile. Um, I don't think it was a good idea. I think she would have been better to just have a plain face, like try to be expressionless. I think that might have been better, because it's now it's like so absurd that no one can stop talking about the fact that they're kind of smiling in the mugshots. And I mean, there's a ton of jokes and memes now about it. If you go to my at Bravo and Botox, I've already put up some Twitter roundups about this arrest, because the tweet reactions, even though this is a serious matter, obviously, but there's a lot of really good tweet reactions, funny ones, and just also thoughtful ones. But like, my God, I can't wrap my head around this. I gotta say, like, just looking at the mugshots, it is making me look at Wendy differently. Like, it's not just the picture, it's the charges that she's been booked on, and reading it. It is making me see her in a different light, because I've always seen Wendy and Eddie as like kind of the most wholesome on the show. And I've always seen them as like the least likely to have like serious skeletons in their closet. Like, I think everybody has some skeletons in their closet, but I didn't think that they had like super serious skeletons like this. I also just didn't think that they would do this. Like, this is just not something that I would suspect them of doing. And I think maybe that is kind of part of it. Like, maybe like, because now I'm like just looking at everything differently. Like, it's like it's like you have glasses on and someone like filtered glasses and someone took them off and now you're seeing reality. But now I'm just kind of like, has everything been sort of like a front in a way? Like, now I'm not saying like she doesn't really have degrees and like all that's not true. That's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is, because I think all of that stuff is true. And I think she gives us the good stuff about her, right? Like, I think she displays the best parts of her. But now I'm wondering if, that sort of like shiny display of like perfect family, perfect this, I don't have anything to hide, like that kind of thing, is there like kind of this other side to her? And I mean more personality, right? Like, Kierna was saying this. That's the craziest part. Like, episode 1, we had the premiere. Kierna was saying like Wendy is different off camera. So I am wondering, maybe there is another side to her that she has just never shown. And, she has kind of had a target on her when it comes to like Giselle and Robin and that kind of stuff for a while. Recently they kind of put their beef aside, because I think Giselle knew that, I think it was part of the reason that they got Robin off the show, because of the backlash from the fans, and people felt like it was bullying and they were like ganging up on Wendy and all this stuff. So, I do think that Giselle kind of put aside her dislike and has been like, quote unquote, playing nice with Wendy for, last season and this season, basically. And, you know, because Giselle and Robin and Ashley, like they do that with people on this show, I think a lot of people just were like, you guys are assholes and you guys are a clique and you guys do this. You know what I mean? You know, so I think a lot of people, when it came to like, you know, Giselle, Robin, or whoever's like criticisms of Wendy, I think we didn't listen to them or take them that seriously, you know, like, because, but I don't remember anything being said about her being like two-faced or hiding things, like besides, what's it called? Besides Kierna in the most recent episode, and besides the stuff about Eddie, like, you know, maybe like following all these like Instagram models, and then the thing, like the alleged thing about him cheating or whatever. So like, I don't know if there's another side to Wendy, like off camera, that we haven't seen, but it just makes me feel like there has to be, because this is the reason this is so shocking to me. But that being said, like, you can be who you are and still make a mistake and commit a crime. But this is like, you know, this is like thought through and premeditated and all that kind of stuff. So I don't know, like this is not looking good. But yeah, it just makes me think that, like, do we really know who Wendy is? You know, like I don't know. Or there is the other option of, sometimes people get into such desperate situations, right, financially, that they do desperate things and they do idiotic things, you know, cough, Dorit, etc. But like, I do wonder if Wendy saw maybe Wendy saw what Dorit did and she's doing the Dorit playbook here. But she got caught, obviously. But I do wonder if this was just like her and not Wendy, her and Eddie are in some type of desperate financial situation, and this was their way of trying to climb out of it. I do wonder if that was it. I also wonder if it's, you know, it could also just be the classic housewife story that we have gotten before, of housewives who, you know, they live beyond their means because they need to keep up appearances to stay on the show. And they need to stay on the show because they need the money from the show. But they can't stay on the show without appearing rich. And it's, you know, and it just goes around in a circle. And it's like a self-fulfilling prophecy. That is probably, you know, most likely the explanation. Now, that being said, that's not an excuse, of course, for doing this. But you know, it could be a reason, certainly. And again, I'm not trying to like defend her or say she's innocent or something like that. Innocent till proven guilty, of course. These are charges, you know, all that, which sometimes I think we need to be reminded of. But my God, I'm going to tell you one thing, though. The way that I know right now, Giselle, Ashley, and Robin are having the best day. I'm sorry. Giselle has been, like I said, playing nice. She doesn't like Wendy. She has never liked Wendy. And just because she was, you know, forced to play nice to kind of like keep her job and keep the show moving, because she was probably told by production, you know, these two have been amicable, etc. But the way that I know that Giselle is happy that now she has something that she can go after Wendy for, and no one can defend it. Like, no one can be like, well, you know, it's just because you don't like Wendy. Like, okay, you know, this is like a big thing, right? Now, I hope, despite the fact that I know these women probably have a little bit of what's it called, Schadenfreude about this, I also think that, you know, I would hope that they would have some compassion for Wendy's kids, because that is like the one part of this story that really breaks my heart, is thinking about those kids, because they are so sweet. And even if they weren't, kids are kids, it doesn't matter. Even if they were bratty kids, which they're definitely not. Ugh, it's just, that is such a hard thing. And it's both parents. Like, it's not like it's one of them, right? Ugh. So that's terrible to think about as a parent, especially. Okay, so let's get the kind of overview here. Let's get into, those are a lot of my random thoughts that I just needed to get out before we started this. But I am replacing all my underwear ASAP, because I have found my perfect versatile underwear that I'm obsessed with. The boy short and the full brief from the Skims Fits Everybody collection. I've been wearing Skims for a few months now, and it has solved my bunching problems. Usually I wear thongs during the day because honestly, I've never had a full brief underwear that fit well before, that aren't constricting, but also stay in place and don't bunch when I have pants on. Listen, I love a thong, but sometimes you just gotta wear a full brief, okay? Like if you have your period or something. And the Fits Everybody full brief and boy short, they both do the trick, okay? The fabric is so comfortable, it just melts onto your skin, and it's low profile under your pants. It's like I'm wearing nothing. I forget I'm even wearing them. No adjusting during the day at all. So shop Skims Fits Everybody collection at skims.com. After you place your order, be sure to let them know I sent you. Select podcast in the survey and be sure to select my show in the drop-down menu that follows. So Dr. Wendy and her husband, I'm going to just read, this is the initial TMZ report. Okay, Real Housewives of Potomac, Wendy Osefo and husband booked on fraud charges. Dr. Wendy and her husband Eddie have been booked on criminal fraud charges. According to documents obtained by TMZ, the Real Housewives of Potomac star is facing 16 charges, including 7 felonies. She's been charged with false, misleading info fraud in excess of $300. She's also facing 1 misdemeanor count of making a false statement to an officer. The couple was booked Thursday night in Westminster, Maryland. Now, something I just want to clarify is that the 300 doesn't mean that the fraud was like only 300. It's the legal threshold. Okay. So in Maryland, anything over 300 can qualify as a felony level fraud charge. Okay, so the actual amount is much higher. Okay, so I just wanted to make sure we clarify that because there were some people who were like, okay, like Candace Dillard did an interview today where she kind of made herself sound a little dumb, I think, because she was asked for reactions about it and they read her the charges because she happened to be on like a morning, I think it was like a local morning talk show. And she was like, oh, well, it's only $300. They're trying to make an example of her. And it's like, no, that's definitely not what's happening here. Okay. Now, this is real. Okay. People have pulled up the Maryland judiciary case search and you can see it. Just to kind of clarify that, because there is nowadays, like I said earlier, fake news, AI, all that stuff. Okay. Basically, as more details have come out, this is what we know so far. Okay, that her and her husband are being accused of insurance fraud. Okay, so to give you just kind of an overview, the court documents allege that the couple wrongfully reported their items were stolen in a burglary for financial purposes. Okay, it also kind of states that they are in dire financial straits. In other words, substantial debt. Okay, which is kind of makes sense what I was saying before. So let me give you some details about this. Okay, so this is right from the court documents. So on Thursday, October 29th, 2025, the defendant was indicted by the grand jury for Carroll County on 7 counts of insurance fraud, 8 counts of conspiracy insurance fraud, and 1 count of a false statement to a police officer. Okay, so they arrested them. The arrest was issued and bail was set at $50,000. I'm not sure if that's for both of them. I think it is because only Wendy is on this one. Okay, so the allegations in this case are that on April 7th, 2024, the deputies responded to a call to basically Wendy's house. The address is blacked out for a reported burglary. A deputy was met by the homeowners, Ed and Wendy, and they reported to him that they had left to go on a trip to Jamaica. And when they returned at approximately 10 p.m., they found their bedroom and both closets to be ransacked, and several designer handbags and jewelry had been stolen. Okay. So I think a lot of us remember that. I remember even when TMZ reported that. And TMZ also posted, their story where they had first or originally reported about this burglary. Let me just find it because I had saved it in here as well. Okay, yeah. So So yeah, RHOP star Wendy Osefo home burglarized while on vacay. Like that was a storyline. And I remember her saying that they were devastated and that being like, a whole part of a reunion and questions were asked about it, like all that stuff. And, we all believed her because why wouldn't we believe Wendy? She has always come off as, forthcoming, trustworthy. Like she doesn't give like scammy vibes. You know what I mean? Like I have to be honest, Dorit gives scammy vibes. Okay. Even if I don't know for sure if Dorit's burglary was real or not, her and PK have always given me those like, I don't know. They've given me like the vibe that they are scam artists. They've just always seemed that way. And things just have never added up financially. But I guess like when with Wendy, like I never looked at like her home and her life and felt like it really, you know, like she was really living outside of her means. It didn't seem that like she has a nice home and a nice life, but it's not like like her lifestyle and her house is not crazy when you think about like that she's been a professor for all this time. Then she's had businesses after that. She's also been on The Real Housewives of Potomac for quite a few years. So we know even without any of that other stuff, she's making a really good salary. And on top of that, Eddie's a lawyer. He started the Happy Eddie business, which we believe is doing well. Maybe it's not doing as well as we thought. But, at the end of the day, it's like, it didn't seem so crazy. It's not like she's living in like, like a Shamia level mansion and she's got like, 17 cars and like, you know what I mean? And she's not like coming out like head to toe, all brand new, like, Louis Vuitton and Chanel every single episode. Like, yeah, she has some designer stuff, but she's not like the way like Dorit has been, So it doesn't like commute or compute, not commute. It doesn't compute that like that she's like way living above her means. Okay, let me get back on track. What was I even talking about? Oh yeah, so TMZ had reported that originally. Okay, so let's go back. So we all kind of remember that, and then the state's evidence would show the purported point of entry into the home to be the owner's bathroom window on the second floor. The window looks onto a small roof that was about 9 feet above the deck. There were no ladders, and the deck furniture was undisturbed, and there was no indication anyone had been on the deck. The Osefo stated they did not touch anything prior to police arrival. There was a screen with damage laying on the floor, and the window was not locked. To go in or out of that window, one has to step on the toilet. The toilet lid was down and had no debris on it. People could wipe stuff off, but I guess they wouldn't if they're doing a burglary. But I mean, that sounds like that's not the best evidence. I mean, they have evidence, don't get me wrong. The toilet lid was down and had no debris on it. When sheriff's office personnel stepped onto the roof and back into their home, they tracked roof grit back inside. Okay, so maybe it is. The Osefos had an ADT system and a Ring camera. The Osefos activated the ADT alarm system upon leaving for vacation. During the time they were away, there was no motion detected inside the residence. There was activity, such as package deliveries, on the Ring camera that was monitored remotely by the Osefos. Investigation determined that on April 8th, 2024, the Osefos initiated 3 separate insurance claims for the burglary and theft. Travelers Insurance, Jewelers Mutual Insurance, and Home Site Insurance Company for the alleged losses suffered while they were away. Okay, Eddie gave recorded statements to 2 of the insurance companies regarding a list of stolen items he provided. He was asked whether any of the items on the list had been returned, which he denied. He was asked if he had other insurance, but failed to disclose to Home Site and Jewelers that he was also making a claim with Travelers Insurance. Oh, Jesus. Okay, so that's not good. So you're also, like you're not disclosing even truthfully the insurance claims, which are also fraudulent because you didn't really have these items stolen in the first place. So that's definitely not good. Okay, so for Home Site, Both Eddie and Wendy signed a sworn statement of loss, which was notarized. The total amount of loss claimed on the sworn statement was $2,500 for the building and $450,000 estimated for content/personal property. Uh-oh. He included an inventory of reported stolen items, along with receipts for the purchase of most of the items on the inventory. That claim was denied due to the failure to disclose the policy with Travelers Insurance. Okay, so there was a fail there. In the original claim submitted on April 8th to Travelers, Edward confirmed that he and his wife were wearing their anniversary bands when the loss occurred. However, when he called Travelers Insurance on April 10th, he said he needed to update their claim, stating that his wife's gold diamond anniversary band was missing. The same day, Travelers Insurance settled the claim for $25,000, which included the replacement price of the band, which was $4,500. My God, guys, this is like serious just lies and fraud. Sorry, I'm going to keep reading because the whole thing is interesting and we want all the details, obviously. Okay, so after the initial report, Wendy and Edward signed and submitted letters to Jewelers Mutual Insurance claiming the burglary occurred and items were reported stolen. At the request of Jewelers Mutual Insurance, the Osefos provided an initial list of 57 stolen items. Included was Wendy's gold diamond anniversary band, and that was the one that was reported to the Travelers Insurance claim. And then on April 22nd, Eddie was interviewed during a recorded call and did not make any mention of the jewelry claim or payout with Travelers. I mean, guys, come on. And this is one thing with insurance. Like, I get people take part in insurance fraud, and I get that it happens. Probably a lot more than any of us even know, unless you work in this area. But also one thing about insurance companies, they are going to get their money, okay? If they can find ways not to pay you, they don't want to pay you. That's how they are, million and billion dollar profitable businesses, okay? They're not looking to be giving money away left, right, and center. So yeah, they're going to look for holes and look for mistakes, and they're going to be diligent and careful. Now, that being said, people who are, I guess, good at it can get away with it, but clearly these two are not experienced criminals. And again, that's a compliment, not an insult. Okay, so let's keep going. Where was I? Okay, so the deputies were suspicious of the circumstances of the burglary. Okay, so and records from stores where some of the items were purchased, along with social media and email accounts. Investigation determined that numerous items that they had claimed were stolen had been purchased and then returned to the store for a full refund. Wow. And this was prior to the alleged burglary. So these items were valued in excess of $20,000. For example, there was a Dior shirt that was listed as stolen, valued at $1,400, but the shirt was returned on January 14th, 2023 for a refund. A Gucci leather wallet that was purchased in 2018 and returned 2 weeks later for a refund of $948. Additionally, while reviewing the social media Instagram account for Wendy Osefo, deputies observed photos of Wendy prior to the burglary wearing a diamond anniversary band on her left finger. This ring was reported stolen in the burglary. Then, after the report of the burglary, Wendy is wearing the same ring on her left finger. And the ring features multiple rows of diamonds and has a V shape on the side that separates where the rows of diamonds begin. The ring was photographed prior to the burglary for an appraisal and matches the photo of the ring on April 27th. Oh, Wendy, come on. And if you go to my Instagram at Bravo and Botox, I did post this on my stories, so you can see the picture of the ring that she posted after the burglary. And I mean, she's on a red carpet. She's got her hand on her waist. It's a close-up shot. Like, this is not even like you have to zoom and focus and it is clear as day, HD, 1080p, whatever the highest thing is. Like, there is no mistaking this. Okay. Like, absolutely no. Okay. And wait till you guys hear this next part. Okay. Just wait till you hear this next part. Okay. Deputies obtain email records for the Osefos. Okay. And on April 12th, Eddie emailed the list of reportedly stolen items to Wendy. The email asked if there were additional high value items we can add to this inventory listing. I'm trying to get the total to exceed 423,000, which is our policy maximum. Guys, I like this is why everyone needs to watch The Sopranos at least once, because on that show, you see all the stuff that organized mobsters and crime people do so that they literally on that show, they won't even have a conversation if there's a laptop open. Like everything is shut. They do not fuck around when it comes to like phones, email, like they don't do any of that. Even when they're having conversation, I remember, I'll never forget, there's a scene where they're having a conversation and they go to like a room that has like a washer and dryer and like turn them on because they don't like trust that they're not being recorded. Anyways, you don't like, you're putting this in an email. Okay. At the time of their arrest, a search and seize warrant was executed for the Osefos' home, and deputies found at least 15 items that appear to be the same ones claimed stolen during the alleged burglary. Ugh, see, that just makes me so sad for the kids again. Like, that must be so scary for them. Ugh. Investigation revealed the Osefos to be burdened by substantial debt. Oh, okay. I wonder how much debt they're in. I would like to know that. Investigation revealed the Osefos to be, oh, sorry, I said that already. Eddie and Wendy, again, I'm saying the short forms, the legal documents, it all says their full legal names and all that kind of stuff, but I've just been going quicker for you guys. But they conspired. So the charge is that they conspired allegedly to make fraudulent statements and provided misleading information in support of making 3 insurance claims for financial gain. Okay. So yeah, they request that the bail remains at 50,000, which as far as I know, it does. Now, the Carroll County Sheriff's Office of Maryland, they put out a news story about this, or a release about this. And apparently, I think this is true. There's going to be a news briefing. It's going to be held on Facebook Live at 3 p.m. on the Carroll County Sheriff's Office Facebook. So if you would like to attend, I guess you can log into the live. Now, that being said, I am sure that it is going to be, all over the internet, and that we'll get a summary of like kind of the main things to know, etc. And on my next news episode, I will have all the updates and information that you need. Actually, forget next episode because I've got an update right now because things are just kind of pouring in. There is a statement from a spokesperson for Dr. Wendy. So they emailed a statement to Variety, and this is what it says. So Dr. Wendy Osefo and her husband, Edward Osefo, are back home safely with their family and in good spirits. They are grateful for the outpouring of concern and support from friends, fans, and colleagues. The Osefos, alongside their legal team, look forward to their day in court. At this time, they respectfully ask for privacy as they focus on their family and the legal process ahead. Oh my God. Okay. Yeah, they're guilty. Listen, innocent till proven guilty. It's just there's no denial of the charges. Now, maybe their lawyer told them not to, maybe, I don't know, maybe they're going to take a plea deal. Like, I don't know. But that doesn't usually, not usually, I guess, but often enough, you get people being like, we didn't do this, or we, categorically deny these allegations, or what, if the person is going to plead not guilty or whatever. But that doesn't sound great. So, Jesus. Okay. And then the other thing that I'm hearing as well, source again is Variety, is that they are pulling her wife swap episode. So I guess there was just one episode. I didn't really I don't really watch wife swap, so I didn't really know how it works, but I knew that there was going to be Housewives wife swap with, Wendy, Emily Simpson, Melissa Gorga, and who was the fourth person? I don't know, someone else. Who cares right now? But the point is that I thought that we would, oh, Angie, I do care about Angie. Okay. But anyways, the point is that I thought like they'd all be on like, I was thinking about it like a season of Housewives where like, they would cut to the different families, but I guess it's like each episode, which makes more sense. And now that is ringing a bell. So I guess they're not airing the episode. I don't know. I think that's kind of stupid. Like, nobody asked for this Housewives wife swap, and I feel like not that many people were planning on watching it. And because of this, let me tell you that I was going to watch it. Like, I wasn't really, like, I was kind of just going to maybe dip in and out or just see what people were saying on social media or watch clips. Like, I wasn't planning on sitting down and watching all the episodes. But now with the whole Wendy thing, I was like, oh, let me watch the show. And and it wasn't even like, oh, let me see if I can spot any of the items, that she might have fraudulently claimed with the insurance companies. For me, I wanted to see if there was any like hints at like money problems or like, like just hinting at that. That's what I was looking for. But again, it's just so stupid because this would have gotten super high ratings. And I think people would have really wanted to watch this. And yeah, like even I'm looking at the comments and people are like, what the hell? I would have watched this. But here's the other thing. I do wonder if it's possible that Wendy and her team or whatever, I know they don't have this power, but there is a part of me that's like, maybe they asked them not to air it. Like maybe there would be something like that would come up or be shown or something that would be even more evidence against them. I do wonder. But again, like I'm not one who sees, Bravo, NBC, Universal as like people who really give a shit about the talent in terms of like protecting them, quote unquote. But I don't know. Maybe they are. Maybe, yeah, I don't know. I don't know if they thought it would be like bad, like, oh, you're supporting someone who like defrauded or did insurance fraud. But that's stupid because I mean, like the list of people who've been on Bravo who've been arrested is long. Okay. Quite long. The other thing that I want to tell you guys is that Ashley Darby herself is going to be on Watch What Happens Live on Sunday. So yeah, forget about the football, forget about baseball. Okay. Ashley is on. Okay. Watch What Happens Live. And oh my God, she's going to be, and she's on with Jeff Lewis. This is going to be, okay, listen, this is appointment television on Sunday night. Okay. So this Sunday at 9:00, you make sure you are watching. I will be watching and I will be talking about it on my next news episode. Oh my God, what a mess all this is. It's crazy. And, even since I just started recording this, people have been pulling up like more and more pictures of her wearing her ring on social media. So there's that. And people are talking about like how bad is their debt and stuff like that. Like it's, again, we don't know, but I have a feeling that it wasn't good. So I don't think I have any more updates at this point. I'm sure, by the time the next news episode comes out, there's definitely going to be more, including Ashley on Watch What Happens Live. So, join me for that episode next week. I'll definitely give you, all the key things that she said and discuss it here as well. Okay, and one more update before we even go to the next story. My apologies. I just, things keep coming and I ended up pausing my recording because I had to do a couple things and then this happened. Basically, the sheriff of the county where Wendy was charged did like this little, like I told you, the little press conference. I thought I would have the episode done by the time, by before the time that even aired, but I didn't. So now I can tell you about it. Basically, they said that Eddie, there wasn't like anything that we didn't really already know. The only thing is that Eddie is being charged. He has a different amount of charges than Wendy does. So they don't have the exact same number. They do have the same type of charges, but they have a different number of them. And then Eddie has the one about lying to a police officer. Now, the other thing is one of the cops that stood up there, I'm not going to lie to you. This was like his big day with the press. I he's up there doing the interview and he's in front of the mic and you can tell he's like trying not to smile. Like this is like his like 15 minutes of fame kind of moment because I don't think I don't, maybe they didn't know how much press there was going to be. And then he's like, they're like, it was the fact that she's like on this show and that she's like a high profile person or whatever. Does that change the way you investigate it? And he's like, and then he does this like grin and he's like, I don't care if she's a real housewife or a fake housewife. I would prosecute her the same or some shit like that. I was like, you wrote that line. Like you wrote that like, the day you knew you guys were going to arrest her and you've been planning that and practicing that in the mirror, sir. Okay. I hope you enjoyed your little moment because it was lame. Okay. That's all I'm going to say. It was lame. Oh my God. All right. So that's it. Okay. That's it for the Wendy story for real this time. And we're going to go to actually some other Potomac news not related to this. So during the RHOP premiere, it was revealed that Stacey's ex, well, quote unquote ex, TJ, was allegedly, I guess, planning to sue her for like this contract that they supposedly had, where I guess she was going to pay him to play her love interest on the show. And then they talked about, Giselle and Ashley talked about how they heard this from a famous actress who wanted to stay anonymous. Okay. Now, people have been doing some sleuthing online to figure out who it is. And word on the street, again, not confirmed, okay, this is just word on the street, is that it is Shanola Hampton, okay, from Shameless and Found, who was on Watch What Happens Live, and people have pulled the clip up. And during that Watch What Happens Live interview, she tells Andy that she knows TJ and that he is, quote, her best friend. Okay. So, obviously the Bravo fandom always puts this stuff together. Even if you tell Giselle not to say your name, they're going to figure it out because they just are, because that's what Bravo does. The Bravo fans, I mean, it's crazy. All right. We do have some other news from other shows, believe it or not. We have some Vanderpump Rules drama, which seems like just small potatoes compared to, all the Wendy news. But let's get into it. Now, it's funny because literally yesterday I was like, oh, this is like kind of one of the biggest, or this is the most like meaty story that I have this week. And now I'm like, this is nothing. Okay. So Lala and Sheena have been kind of going back and forth via their podcasts. And they've been arguing, I guess, passively in a way, because they're not directly arguing with each other. And Sheena had kind of made mentions and said things about Lala, as we all know, about her, like, she didn't share my book and da-da-da. And Lala, on a recent bonus episode of her podcast called Lala's Confessions, admits that things are not great between her and Sheena right now. She also says that like Sheena has such high expectations of friendship that nothing is ever good enough for her. She says that she doesn't understand why she's so angry, because she has like a great life and a beautiful daughter and all this other stuff. And she doesn't understand why she says she's scraping the bottom of the barrel for shit, as in like reasons to fight with people, I guess. So she's, doesn't seem happy with this, but basically says that, the two of them have been friends. And at the end of the day, even if they say like something stupid about each other, Lala says that she tends to leave it because she knows that at her heart, Sheena's a good person. Okay. So, she feels like, why are you nitpicking me over little things? She also says, I did share the book. She said, I just didn't share it in the timeline that Sheena wanted me to share it. So she says that, yes, she shared it, but it wasn't like quick enough for Sheena's liking. And, and she also mentioned, like, you're a New York Times bestseller, like your book has done so well. Like, why aren't you happy? Why are you so angry, etc.? Like, here's the thing. Lala has a point, but at the same time, Lala's the same. So there's only so much like, not that I think like Lala necessarily like nitpicks over these like kind of dumb little things. I do think Sheena does that more because she's more thirsty and just more like trying to drum things up and always trying to have drama, because I think that's kind of like her quote unquote staying power, and that's her trying to like stay on TV or get back on TV or whatever you want to say, right? But I do think that Lala is the type of friend who kind of keeps score as well, because she also on the show has been like, I never feel like people care about what happened to me and no one ever checks in when this happens to me. Like she always brings it back to herself also. So I do kind of feel like they're both the same in that way, which is I could see why they would butt heads in that sense. Now the other thing, so Sheena has kind of responded, I guess, in her in her own way, sorry. And she spills the quote unquote real reason she's beefing with Lala. And it's not just about the book. She says, so I guess she didn't really get the message from Lala about like, I don't want to fight about this, etc. She says that Lala told someone, I guess, who wasn't on good terms with Sheena about the affair that Brock had. She also says that 2 other times she felt disrespected. Once when Lala called her screaming and cussing over a play date with both of their kids present, and another when Sheena gave her mom's friend's name to the Valley production. So Lala was allegedly mad because they didn't want to go toes with those women. Okay, so I guess that means, oh, sorry, it's mom friends, not mom's friend. Okay, so I guess, okay, that makes sense. So I guess Sheena gave a mom friend of hers, who's also a mom, name to Valley Production. And Lala was mad about this because she doesn't want those women to like go toe to toe, I guess. Like, I don't know. It kind of sounds like Lala doesn't want them on the show, maybe, as opposed to herself. I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong. I need more details and I need greater context for sure in order to make a judgment on that. But who knows? Like, who knows why Sheena wanted this particular person and who knows why Lala did not want this particular person. And then Sheena also reveals that before every reunion, she and Ariana would joke about Lala's redemption tour and how she would treat all of them like shit all season and then cry and apologize on camera. I mean, that's true. That's also half the cast, like, to be honest. That's kind of like more than half of like the Bravo celebrities that exist. That's kind of one of the classics in the playbook, in the reality TV playbook, is like, there's all these like confessional warriors, and then when they get confronted, they're like, I'm sorry, and then they cry. But Lala does do it, I think, kind of extra because she is one who like makes all these excuses, and I was going through a hard time and this happened and I've grown and I've changed, and I'm so like, she does, yeah, she is definitely guilty of that. Listen, they both have points. And listen, I have news for them. They're both terrible. How about that? And the two of them are squawking and beefing back and forth, and Katie and Ariana are somewhere happy with their successful sandwich shop and with their successful, Katie's podcast, and Ariana is killing it left, right, and center. So how about that? Maybe it's a little bit of that's what you get, Now, if you think that they're done responding to each other, you are wrong. Okay? Because Lala then responds again and says that Sheena Shea's podcast is, quote, fucking insufferable. So that was one part. And then the other thing she says is that though she's not going to address everything Sheena said, but what she is going to address is the whole cussing in front of the kids. She says she did not cuss Sheena out in front of their kids. She said they were on the phone. She got out of her car. She parked, got out of her car, and basically, walked around the car to get Ocean out of the car. And while she was doing that, she cussed Sheena out. Yes. But then she said she did not, like, Ocean was in the car and couldn't hear her. She said that Sheena, so this was a phone call. So she's saying that they were not even in person. Maybe, I don't know, who knows? Maybe Sheena's going to be like, I was on speakerphone and my daughter heard. I don't know. Either way, do I believe that both of them would beef and yell at each other on the phone with their kids around and not pay it any mind? Yeah, I actually do believe that. Sorry. I'm not saying either of them are bad moms, quote unquote. I just think that they would do that, to be honest. Anyways, so she says, no, I cussed her out before I took Ocean out of the car. So it's good, guys. Don't worry about it, okay? It's just so stupid. So it doesn't look like the two of them are gonna be on terms, I don't know, at any time, good terms on at any time. What the hell am I saying, guys? Sorry. This has just been a lot today. They are not going to be on good terms at any time. Now, my conspiracy theory is that all of this is on purpose to get Sheena on the Valley with Lala because she's on it. It seems like she's been filming as a friend of. There's been pictures and videos on Instagram and stuff of her filming, and I haven't seen anything of Sheena. And from what I've heard, she's not going to be on it. So, you know, for all I know, the two of them are like besties. I mean, they do live, like, she bought a house next to Sheena. You know, I thought they were so close. Again, some of these examples are kind of bad. So this could be a legit fight, but there is, I'm not going to lie, like there's that cynical, you know, Bravo conspiracy side of me that's like the two of them are laughing and they, not laughing, but the two of them are still besties and this is all fake because Sheena's not on the show. So I don't know. So speaking of that, Sheena had Alex Baskin on her podcast. So if you don't know who that is, he is one of the executive producers for some Bravo shows, okay? Vanderpump Rules being one, Real Housewives of Beverly Hills, and The Valley, okay? So all of these people were saying that this is all just like, you know, like, well, when I say all these people, I mean me and a lot of other people are saying this is like Sheena's way of trying to get back on the show. Now, Sheena goes ahead, has Alex Baskin on. They do this extremely cringe TikTok trend to like show that he's going to be on as like a teaser. And then he's on the show and basically while being interviewed on Shenanigans, Alex Baskin, of course, confirms that Sheena is not desperate to get on the Valley. She's not desperate to get on Real Housewives of Orange County. And on top of all of that, she was actually offered a spot on the Valley season 3, and she turned it down and says that it just doesn't feel like the right step for her. She doesn't want her purpose to be reality TV and wants to take a chance on other things. I believe this 0%. There is no amount of executive producers and Alex Baskins in the world that will ever convince me for one goddamn second that Sheena would turn down a role on The Valley or any reality show. And then she's like, have I ever expressed interest in being on OC? Have I ever said that's my dream job? And da-da-da. And he's like, no, like, it's just so stupid. And then, so she's claiming that she's never said that. And then she's like, well, there was a conversation where they were like, you should be on OC, da-da-da. And I was like, no, I would never want to do that. Like, I was like, Sheena, you would love that. You would love to be a Real Housewife. It would be like graduating to the next level. Okay. You would love to be on the Valley. You would love it all. Like, I just don't like, there is not one ounce inside of you that doesn't want fame and doesn't want to be consistently relevant and doesn't want to keep making a lot of money. Let's just be honest here. So like, I don't care that Alex Baskin is on here confirming it. I think at the end of the day, he's kind of a boss, but also a friend. And I think they probably sat her down and were like, listen, we just don't think, they probably did it in the nice, gentle way. Like when you break up with someone and really you think they're terrible, but you're like, it's not you, it's me. You know, they probably sat her down and were like, Sheena, it's just not the right fit right now. We just have to explore some different directions, but in the future, maybe. Like they probably gave her a roundabout. And then when she's getting crucified online, and people are calling her desperate, she's like, Alex, can you please come on and tell them I'm not desperate? Like, do me this favor, please, especially since I can't be on the Valley right now. And he was probably like, yeah, sure. And then he came on and like, it's just, do you think we're dumb? We're not dumb. And I'm also not gullible. Okay. It's just, give me a break. I don't know. Maybe I am because I thought Dr. Wendy was legit. I mean, I don't know anymore, guys. I'm questioning everything, really. Okay. In other news, we have, well, I guess this is kind of the same because it's the Valley. And I feel like if you're a fan of Vanderpump Rules at this point, you you will watch The Valley. It would just be crazy to not. So Brittany Cartwright got her implants removed. I had to put this in the news today because I have been waiting for this. I have been bringing it up and asking, like, not asking anyone in particular, just kind of like throwing it out there on Twitter and into the universe. But to me, those things were always a symbol of Jax and his control over her and his abusive nature, because it was like, she seemed like she was into getting them, but she just wanted a little bit bigger. Right. And he really pushed her to get like these huge knockers, and they're way too big for her frame. Right. Because she has, like, we all have different body types, etc. Right. And it just didn't suit her physique, and it didn't suit her then, and it doesn't suit her now. And you could just kind of tell, like, she didn't really want them that big. Well, I mean, like, she pretty much said that. And she was like, oh, I don't know about that big. And then he was like, I'm paying for them. So, blah, blah. Like, he was such an asshole about it. But yeah, so listen, I think her getting rid of them is like kind of like a final step of freedom. I mean, an official divorce would be good too. But this is what she said. When they said, remove what no longer serves you, I took it literally. In all seriousness, y'all know I always keep it real, and so I did a thing. Something I've wanted to do for years, and I finally took the step. For me, I couldn't be happier. Still recovering, but feeling stronger and lighter every day. Can't wait to share more with you soon. Okay. So a lot of people are commenting on like the bandages and where the drain tubes or whatever are. I don't know, guys. I'm an idiot. I don't know this stuff. Anyways, but I'm being like, oh, well, it's a tummy tuck, da da da. Here's kind of the conclusion that I've come to based off reading comments, mostly on Reddit, of people who've had various surgeries. It seems like she had a boob reduction because they do look smaller. And I think they'll probably look even smaller maybe once swelling goes down and stuff, but also maybe a tummy tuck or something else, or like, yeah, something else. Right. So good for her. Honestly, whatever will make her feel better and give her more confidence in her body, because that was obviously something that Jax made her feel terrible about. And I can understand that those scars would be deep when somebody is saying that to you for years and years, and when it's supposed to be the person who loves you. Like, it's just pretty messed up. Okay, so let's go to some Beverly Hills news, because we do have some Real Housewives of Beverly Hills news. So we have an update with Denise Richards' divorce. Unfortunately, we have to talk about this terrible man again, but her ex-husband, or estranged, whatever we want to call him, apparently he may be calling Charlie Sheen and Brandy Glanville into the divorce battle. And he's going to be putting them possibly on the witness list. Okay. So according to Virtual Reality, he may call them to testify in his divorce from Denise Richards, and his attorney claims both can corroborate Richards' alleged history of dishonesty and substance abuse. Okay. And again, I'm not saying that, that maybe Denise doesn't have a substance abuse problem. I sometimes have a feeling that she does. There certainly are many clues to that. There's certainly many clues that she likely cheated on Aaron many, many times. Again, none of that excuses domestic violence. None of that excuses threatening to kill someone. None of that excuses any of that. Now I guess he's trying to show her as a liar so he can deny the abuse. But I mean, there's quite a bit of photo evidence. So I don't think that's going to work. Now, he also said to the judge, that she locked him out of his accounts, and that he needs $150,000 ASAP. This is according to TMZ. Okay. He says that he might end up homeless if he doesn't get the money. So he filed the document earlier this week, and in it, he claims Pfeiffer's and Richards had millions in joint accounts before he filed for divorce, saying Richards took control of the accounts and has not allowed me to access any of the funds. Yeah, I wouldn't either because it's my money and you're an abusive POS. Now, that being said, I understand when people get married, it does become their money, etc. But I also think that, you know, I just think that when you are beating someone up, I don't know. I know this isn't the law, but you forfeit that, okay? When you put your hands on her, you don't deserve a penny. Okay. I don't care how long you were married for. Okay. Anyways, again, I'm speaking more from my own opinion, obviously, and not the legalities of it. But okay. So he filed the documents earlier this week, and in it, oh, sorry, I said that already. He also acknowledges a good chunk of the money comes from Denise's OnlyFans. And he mentions that he took many of the photos on the page and insists he owns the copyright to those pictures. I mean, that's a stretch. Like, a lot of the pictures that she has are like on her phone, like taken on a phone. Like, oh, congratulations. You did the same thing that, like, you know, a 10-year-old could do. You took pictures on someone's cell phone. Like, not that a 10-year-old should be taking OnlyFans pictures, but you know what I mean. Anybody can open the phone app and click. Like, you didn't do something so important. Like, and I'm sure if you have millions of dollars in these joint accounts, that Denise could hire someone to take her pictures. She let you do it because you're her husband. Okay. And it is funny because this guy is so possessive and controlling and, you know, suspecting of her cheating and all this stuff, yet he was okay with OnlyFans. But it does make sense because that's his meal ticket. Right. And I think a lot of the reason that he's so like controlling and crazy possessive of her is not just because of like who she is and what and her beauty and all that kind of stuff. I think it's also because that's really his meal ticket and his whole family. Like, without her, and obviously it's because he's deranged and a sociopath and all that kind of stuff. But it is also because like he is using her. Like, it's, you know, I don't know. It's, I guess it's not financial abuse because in the sense like she has the upper hand there, but you know, it's abuse in the way that he's definitely like holding on to her like an object for that. So he says he's desperate for an influx of money and that he needs 120K to pay his back rent and 10K to pay his attorney for the divorce case, along with other expenses. So he's asking for 150K to get him through this difficult period. Oh my God, let me get my tiny violin out. I feel so bad for you, Aaron. Okay, let's talk about Garcelle and Sutton because we haven't talked about them in a long time and we have an update. So Garcelle, on a red carpet interview, said that she has not spoken to Sutton since the reunion. So, you know, now the Real Housewives of Beverly Hills is going to be coming back like in the winter, right? And, you know, this is when those kind of topics are going to get brought up again and people are going to start wondering. Um, so she was still okay. So after she finished the reunion, she unfollowed several of her castmates, right? One of them was Sutton Strack. That was the one that everybody noticed and was like, oh my God. So she was asked also about if she's going to return. And she said, not anytime soon, but does not rule out future appearances in a smaller capacity, which I mean, I think that would be good. I would like to see her like, you know, kind of how they do with like Denise and Camille, like just pop up now and then. I like that. So Garcelle says, walking away has given me my power back. Okay. So she spoke with Variety on October 1st, and she said the drama was heavy on her. And she says, it's given me a sense of freedom and I'm in a good headspace. There was a moment where I felt like I no longer belonged here. I no longer fit in here. It was definitely a moment of like, this is not for me. It just didn't feel right. I mean, that makes sense because, you know, we could see that this group was just never, they just were never going to let her in any sort of authentic way. And sometimes you don't really care when you have kind of your own people. And I think she had that with like, you know, Crystal and Sutton for a while. And even Denise at the very beginning, right? But then, you know, as they kind of whittled those people down and sort of, you know, Sutton showed her kind of desperate side where she just wants to fit in with the quote unquote cool girls, even though I don't think they're cool. But, you know, it was like, I do think that Garcelle felt like she was kind of out there alone, like on an island. And like, who wants to be around in that situation? Like, I don't blame her. Okay, we also have some Real Housewives of Miami news. So let's get into that. Obviously, the second part of the reunion was crazy. Oh my God. You know, like I watched it. Okay. I watched it today. I am recording this on Friday. Okay. And listen, I'm on Instagram, I'm on Twitter. I can't avoid spoilers. I saw the spoiler. I was shocked, of course. It didn't ruin it for me because I don't like it was spoilers. I don't care when it comes to Real Housewives because I am like, I'm going to find out. I'm going to have the same experience of shock and awe as I will when I watch the episode. So I was good with it. I was okay. I don't like spoilers for scripted shows, but for unscripted, I'm like, yeah, it's all right. So yeah, so I saw it. I was shocked. It was still even better to watch it in the full context of the reunion. But my God, like just when I thought I could not be more blown away than I was from the revelation in part one about Julia and Adriana sleeping together, Adriana reveals this secret. I won't even say it just in case any of you haven't watched it. And it's even crazier than that. So yeah, so there's that. And I don't even know why I started talking about that. So obviously, though, actually, I do. That's all over the internet and people have been talking about it. And from the first part of the reunion, Adriana is denying, using an affair with Julia as blackmail. Okay. So she made a comment on Instagram and she said, that is such a lie. That's not my style. And I was vouching for her and doing home studies twice to help her with adoption. Doesn't even make sense. She also said, hang on, where is it? Oh, yeah. So she said that the women are trying to do, this was in an Instagram comment, they're trying to do a reverse deflection as usual, trying to pin it all on me. But the real bomb will be dropping next week. And that's the bomb that if you've watched part two, you know about. So yeah, she has been all over the comments on Instagram, on Bravo TV. She's been sharing some of my Twitter roundup. So she is not, she's not like taking this lying down by any stretch. So neither is Gertie. I will say that, who sent me a DM in relation to that as well, to be honest. Anyways, if you want my Miami recap, which is going to be coming this weekend, along with other stuff that I have heard about, Gertie's perspective on how it's been edited and stuff like that from the DMs, go over to my Patreon, patreon.com/Bravo and Botox, and subscribe. And I'm going to be talking about that and Salt Lake City and Potomac and all the shows. All right. So what do we have next? Oh, yeah, we have some Orange County news. So Alexis Bellino ties the knot with John Jansen. And it's fine. Like the wedding, it looks nice, like exactly what I would expect from them. It looks nice. Like, okay. Like, it's not like anything that I was like, ooh, like, it's like the cliche kind of stuff. Okay. Not to like be a hater, but actually, no, I do want to be a hater because it's Alexis and John Jansen. But Tamra went and she said it was one of the most beautiful, romantic, fun, spiritual weddings I've ever been to. Okay, Tamra. Meanwhile, the kind of quote unquote drama surrounding it is that Jen Pedranti was uninvited to Alexis Bellino's wedding. At least that's how it's being sort of spread around. But it's a little more nuanced than that. So basically, Jen received a save the date, but later received a call from Alexis instead of an invitation. And Jen has confirmed that she respected Alexis's decision. So yeah, so I guess originally she received the save the date. And when you get a save the date, like you assume you're invited, right? So I guess she got a call from Alexis. I'm sure it was because of Tamra and just, changing friendship dynamics in the group and all that kind of stuff. And she was probably like, listen, just things are awkward right now. It's like a special day. Like we're not on the same page as we were before, like something like that. But Jen says that she respects the decision. So, and I mean, even if she is secretly like bitter about it, she's not going to say it because, I think she knows that kind of looks whatever. But I mean, in my opinion, I think it's better to not be invited. Who wants to go to Alexis and John? I guess some people want to go. I wouldn't want to go. I would be like, yay, one less stupid wedding I have to go to and spend money on. Okay, so let's get to our last story, which also relates to people being arrested and possibly going to prison. I say possibly because we don't know what's going to happen with Wendy and Eddie, but in this case, we do, because we are talking about Catherine Dennis from Southern Charm, who is being incarcerated for 30 days after pleading guilty to a DUI. Okay. So hang on, let me go to, because there's two stories related to this, and I was on the second one, but I want to do it in order. Okay. So Catherine Dennis was in a car accident in May 2024. Okay, this is what led to the recent jail sentence, which she has now started. Okay, so this is a 30-day jail sentence, so it's not super long, but still. And she was, there was body cam or police footage, and she was clearly intoxicated, like really intoxicated, and she was like getting upset at them and raising her voice and all this other stuff. Anyways, so in addition to the jail time, she's actually also being sued over this. Okay, so the plaintiff, whose name is Larry Patrick Griffin, claims in his lawsuit that Dennis's actions caused him bodily injury, pain and suffering, and mental anguish, saying that she was driving while under the influence and sway of alcohol and or other controlled substances when the crash occurred. She made the conscious decision to drive a motor vehicle on a public roadway while under the influence of intoxication of alcohol, beverages, and or controlled substances. I like the and or because I'm assuming they're, I don't know, implying that she was on something else. I haven't seen like a, police statement or anything that says she was, but she was intoxicated. That's all that matters. So Griffin is seeking just and proper relief for the property damage, punitive damages, and court costs. Okay. Dennis's insurer State Farm was also named, but has denied the allegations. And she is currently serving her 30-day sentence at Berkeley County Jail. Okay. So we will see what happens with that. I mean, listen, I do think that if this person was injured and if they have court fees, I mean, I'm surprised he's not asking for medical bills. Maybe his insurance covered it. I don't know. But, there was clearly damages. And, like, it's not like he's asking for like emotional distress or like, sometimes people do that. That can be hard to prove. From what I've heard, it can be a tough thing in civil cases to win with that. But, some lawsuits are frivolous. I don't think this one is like such a stretch. She did make that decision. She did hurt someone. Thank God he's alive and okay. And yeah, I think you should pay for his court costs. So, I mean, maybe he also has a realistic view of how much money Catherine has. Because, a lot of people would be like, reality star, let's sue them for like millions of dollars. But yeah, I don't know how much he's suing her for. But, I don't think Catherine is some like rich person that you can like suck dry for money or anything like that, especially at this point in her life. She seems to be just on a bad path all around. It is pretty sad when you think about kind of how she started out on Southern Charm all those years ago and just the downward spiral that her life has taken in so many different ways. It's just, yeah, it is very, very sad. It's definitely like one of those, I don't know, reality TV kind of horror stories when you think about it. And again, I'm not saying like she's like such a victim or anything because a lot of it is her own doing. Some of it she is a victim of, and some of it is her own stuff too. So, it's one of those things. She's clearly an addict. I think she's probably been dealing with addiction for a long time, and maybe she'll be able to get help. I don't know. It's the best we can hope for. Okay, everyone. Thank you for tuning in to oh my God, I had that one story that I missed. Shoot. Okay, I have to end on this because we already talked about Beverly Hills, but I can't not talk about this. Okay. And it's such a good note to end on. Hang on, let me pull it up. Because Teddy Mellencamp went on her podcast and said that her stage 4 cancer is, quote unquote, gone amid an ongoing health struggle that began in 2022 and ended up with a stage 4 cancer diagnosis. She says, just to give a little life update to you guys, I had my immunotherapy yesterday and I did my scans. And at this point, there is no detectable cancer. Wow. What a fantastic story. Like, I just needed to end on that because I think a lot of times stories in relation to people having cancer, especially stage 4 and stuff like that, we know the outcome often. A lot of us have been through it and have family members and have watched and lost people that we loved and all that kind of stuff. So, to hear kind of like a story like this where as of right now, she's cancer free is great. And I know, once you've had it, you do have to be vigilant with your checks and all, and it can come back. I know all that, etc. But right now, because all you can do is live one day at a time, right now she's cancer free. And I think that's amazing. And I was so happy to hear that. Okay, everyone. So I think that's a good note to end on. So I just want to say happy Thanksgiving again to all my Canadian listeners. And I hope you enjoy a relaxing long weekend with lots of delicious food. And to everyone else, I hope you have a great weekend as well. So thank you so much for joining me today. And you are now in the know for everything Bravo. See you next time. Bye. Thanks for listening, everyone. Your support really means everything to me. And this show wouldn't be possible without you, the listeners. So please, if you enjoy the podcast, leave a 5-star rating and subscribe so you don't miss an episode. For more, you can join my Patreon, patreon.com/Bravo and Botox. And for $5 a month, you'll get 4 extra podcast episodes a month. You'll also get early releases of Bravo Paper episodes and more. Please also subscribe to my YouTube channel at The Bravo Papers and follow me on Twitter, Instagram, at Bravo and Botox and at The Bravo Papers. If you'd like to buy me a coffee, you can at buymeacoffee.com/Bravo and Botox. Send your love through some much needed caffeine. And any guest that was on today's episode will be in the show notes, all their social media and contact information. So thank you so much, everyone. Keep overanalyzing Bravo.